All right, we're going to go to the Buyers Right hotline. Luke Miller has everything we need on this Stallions Battlehawks game. We had Anthony Becht on the show a little bit earlier. We talked about this matchup, Luke. Folks can follow you at Luke Miller, SOTS. What's the first thing you're looking for as far as what it's going to take for Birmingham to get this win tomorrow at 3 p.m. on Fox?
Man, I think it all begins in the trenches, and I think you might agree with me there, but I think the Stallions' defensive line has been a difference maker all year, and I think if they let A.J. sit back there and pick them apart with the receivers the Battlehawks have, it could be a long day for the Stallions, but if they can get pressure on him and make him uncomfortable, I think that would be a huge difference maker for them in this game.
What do you make of just the matchup in the trenches? I know a lot of the focus will be on AJ. A lot of the focus will be on the perimeter skill, the quarterback play for Birmingham, which has been excellent so far this year. But how well does St. Louis match up along the line of scrimmage is, I think, maybe the biggest question, and one that I just don't have the answer to. So do you think they can hold up?
You know, I think they have a good offensive line, and obviously they're going to, bring their best game. But I will say they have given up the third most sacks in the UFL. And obviously AJ, for all of his strengths, he's not a super mobile guy. He can't necessarily evade pressure like Adrian Martinez on the Stallion side of the ball. So I think their offensive line is going to have their work cut out for them. I think, it's just sort of mitigating the damage, right? That Stallions defensive line is so good. They're going to get back there at some point. It's just, can you give AJ enough time to make some things happen? And then I think whenever the Stallions have the ball, the Battlehawks have a really athletic sort of front seven, and they've got some guys that can disrupt things. But the Stallions, they've got some big offensive linemen that work really well together, and they've had a ton of success running the ball. So I think in terms of that interior front seven, the Battlehawks again are going to have to sort of bring their A game and not get bullied around by the Stallions offensive line like they've been doing to a lot of teams.
Luke Miller, creator, editor, contributor to State of the Stallions at SOT Stallions. You can follow that on Twitter as well. We went through some of the injury report a little bit earlier, and I had that game in Memphis last week, and you see Gates go down to linebacker. You see another DB or two go down. They were already a little bit dinged at those two spots. Is depth becoming a real concern at the second and third level for the Stallions defense?
I think it is. I think fortunately right now they've got enough guys in place that they should be okay, but I think as the season goes on and as you get into that sort of back half of this 10-week season, it is definitely a question mark, especially at that linebacker spot, because you had Scooby Wright retire, obviously, because of an injury, and then you had Gates go down, and he's going to miss this week. Now, thankfully, he should be back eventually, is my understanding, maybe in another week or two, but this week you don't have either one of those guys, and so those two guys have been huge pieces of the Stallions defense for the last couple of years, and to not have them, I do think that linebacker spot is kind of the question mark, and the secondary is getting thinner for sure, too. We've had a couple guys go down with injury. Luckily, they were really aggressive in the offseason adding talent to the secondary, so they do have, some guys I think that they can plug in and who can get the job done. But, the more those injuries start to pile up, of course, the more you start to worry about, what happens if another guy goes down or, again, once we get to where it really matters in the postseason, are we going to be healthy and ready to play?
How would you assess the depth on Birmingham compared to previous years? Because it does feel like the depth across the board is pretty good, but it does feel like Birmingham, the rich kind of got richer this offseason.
No, I totally agree. I think the depth this year is insane. Part of it, obviously, is the merger. And, we've got guys that, were starters on other USFL teams that, because of the merger are now with us and are either starting for us or just rotating in for us or didn't even make our team. They got cut after camp. And then add on top of that the guys that we went out and got in free agency, like a guy like Taco Charlton, who was a first-round pick in the NFL a few years back, and, some of the other, bigger name players that we got. Just if you look at the inactives, the guys that we haven't been able to play every week, and you think back a year or two ago in the USFL or even last year in the XFL, these guys would be key contributors and I think even starters in a 16-team league. But when you put, consolidate it down to 8, I think it has been remarkable to see how good. There's just really no drop off from, let's say, a 1 to 2 like there was maybe in previous years where a guy or two goes down and you start to kind of really notice maybe a difference. So that's been, I think, an awesome thing for the league and certainly a great thing for the Stallions.
Luke Miller, SOT Stallions. Follow him on Twitter there. Follow him on Twitter at Luke Miller, SOTS. State of the Stallions. He is the creator, contributor to that. All right, so we've talked about the actual game. We know 3 o'clock on Fox. What is your realistic expectation for what that environment's going to look like tomorrow at Protective Stadium?
I think it's going to be great. Obviously, those of us who are kind of diehards for the spring football thing, we always want more, right? We always want it to be packed out a little bit more than it is. But, when I think about the Stallions since they started in 2022, there's been some great games. I think about the home opener in 2022, when they had the game against the New Jersey Generals and kicked this thing off. I think about last year when they had their first ever home playoff game against the New Orleans Breakers in a really fantastic atmosphere. I think this one has the potential to eclipse any of those because it's such a big game with the best team in the USFL Conference and the best team in the XFL Conference, obviously with A.J. McCarron playing his first game in Alabama since college, and just the hype that it's been getting, and just the fact with the merger and, the TV ratings have been fantastic. So people are tuning into this thing. People know that this thing is happening. And obviously, there's always other things going on in the city and whatnot. And, on a Saturday afternoon, not everybody's going to be in town. But I think just with the hype that it's been getting, people have had this date circled on their calendar since before the season started, and it's just gotten the expectation has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger as it's approached. So I'm expecting, probably the best sort of atmosphere and vibe that we've had ever for a Stallions game since the team came back in 2022.
All right, Luke, you do a great job covering the Stallions, but you also dip over into some other spring leagues, and we've given updates almost every day on the relaunch. I don't even know if you can label it a relaunch, like attempted relaunch, like at least firing of the engines of the Arena Football League.
Failure to relaunch
of the AFL. Give us the latest, like the last 24 hours. What's the need to know for the Arena Football League's attempted a reboot?
Attempted. Yeah, I know that is a generous way to put it, I guess. I mean, it's been really, really sad to watch. Right now we've got the Iowa franchise folded a few weeks ago, and then within the last 24 hours, I think we've got official confirmation that, the Philadelphia Soul are no longer active as a franchise, nor are the Georgia Force. And my understanding is there's going to probably at least be one or two, if not more, franchises that face the same fate, here sooner than later. And we've kind of now reached that stage where we've got a player for the Georgia Force who set up a GoFundMe to help his teammates just be able to get home because they're getting kicked out of their hotel, and some of them don't have the money to be able to make it back to wherever they're from. So it's really a tragic situation. I was really excited for the league to come back and, thought it had a lot of potential, but it's very clear now that the higher-ups that are sort of running this thing, did not have a good plan in place. And then that's, again, giving them the benefit of the doubt. If anything, it could have been maybe something more malicious, who knows. But the thing is certainly sort of on its last leg at this point, with already about a fourth of the franchises folding and probably more to come.
Yeah, some of the stuff that these executives are doing, it's just gross. It is. And we hate to see it happening because we're all for more football. But appreciate you taking some time today. Enjoy that game tomorrow. It's going to be awesome, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Sounds great. Can't wait to see you guys there. And I got to say, Greg, happy birthday, man.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Throwing that out today. All right. You want to wish Chris Berman a happy birthday also?
What about that TikTok?
Happy birthday to everybody whose birthday it is.
Bono. Thank you, Luke. State of the Stallions at SOT Stallions. Follow them on Twitter at Luke Miller, SOTS. Follow him as well. Great stuff. Just talking Birmingham Stallions. Maybe the biggest game, regular season game, or any game in spring football history. It's going to be incredible. I'm bummed I'm not going to be able to go. I got to fly to Houston tomorrow after a couple baseball games. But that environment is going to be intense, and it's going to be a lot of fun.